Hey there, it's Corey McLindsey with Venture Real Estate, back with another video. And the last video I did, I talked about the 5 best things about living in Bismarck. And sort of my logical brain thought, if you're gonna tell people about all the good things about Bismarck, you should probably tell them about some of the bad things too. So right now, I'm gonna talk about the 3 worst parts about owning a home in Bismarck. So specific to home ownership, not about what's bad about living in Bismarck, because to be honest with you, I really love Bismarck and I love almost everything about it. But these are specific to owning a home. So without further ado, I'm gonna come out swinging on this because this is by far the worst part about owning a home in Bismarck. And that is thing number 1, which are specials. Specials are short for special assessments. Now, you might come from the West Coast or the East Coast or down south or from a larger area like Minneapolis or Chicago, and you might have in those areas what are called HOAs. A lot of people are familiar with the concept of an HOA. HOA is a homeowners association, and homeowners association has typically like a monthly fee applied to it, and it's to maintain common areas or in general upkeep of the neighborhood and creating sort of a structure so that the neighborhood stays really nice. We in Bismarck, we really don't have many HOAs, which is a positive thing because that monthly expense really doesn't exist. There are definitely neighborhoods that have a couple of them, but that's more like condos or things like that, or there are certain areas that have snow removal and things like that. But in large part, we really don't have many HOAs. What we do have are specials, and what I am gonna do is throw something on the screen, and this is actually a special assessments bill, if you will. It kind of breaks everything down. So I'm gonna look on my screen, I'm gonna put this up here right now, and this is an example property, but you can see that there's a whole bunch of line items on the left-hand side, and it's driveway, permanent paving, sewer trunk line, sidewalk, street maintenance, and you can see there it says pending, which means that specials can actually accumulate over time if there's additional work needed. Streetlights and water trunk line. Now, I gave this example specifically because this is a relatively new house. It was built in 2020, and all of these items need to be paid for. And who pays for it? The homeowner pays for it. Now, this is just my opinion. I think that this is how the city of Bismarck stays pretty financially healthy, is because the people who live in the homes end up paying for all of the infrastructure. And that is the punchline of specials, is all that stuff in front of your house, your driveway, the road that's in front of it, that would be the permanent paving, the sewer trunk line, so you able to get connected to the city sewer and city water and street lights and all the stuff in front of your house. You as the homeowner pay for it. Now, if you had to pay for it all up front, you can see at the bottom it says original assessments. If you went all the way down to the bottom, the original assessment for everything would have been over $22,000 to pay for everything. Now, the city understands that most people are not going to be able to just write a check for that when the home is built. And also, and this is the key, when builders build a home, they certainly don't want to pay that bill because they're not going to be living in the home. They're not going to get the enjoyment of it. So what happens is it gets put on basically your tax bill. So you get to pay this off over time. By far the worst thing about living in Bismarck right here. So you can see that, for instance, on the top line, the driveway. Well, the driveway was $5,839.84, and that started in 2020. The number of years, it's a 6-year term. The interest rate is 2.47%. Yes, you heard that right. The city actually collects interest on each one of these items. So the remaining balance is $3,503.92. The estimated annual principal, so what goes toward the principal, is $583.99. Estimated annual interest, so that's the interest that the city makes from me every year on this specific item, is $86.55. And the estimated annual interest is $670.53. Installment, rather. Anyway, so the grand total, if you go all the way to the bottom, is this homeowner pays $2,155.29 every single year. Now, how is that paid? It's basically broken up and put on your tax bill. So if you took $2,155.29 and divided by 12, you'd get about $180. So this person, this homeowner, is gonna have $180 a month more on their mortgage because of these specials. Hey, if you're thinking about moving to Bismarck, I have just the thing for you. It is a free relocation guide. It's a bunch of information that I put together to make it easier for you to learn more about Bismarck Mandan. The link of it should be in the description below or pinned to the top comment, one of the two. Hopefully you'll find it useful. If you have any other questions, reach out. Thanks. So that is by far, now you know, that's the worst part about owning a home in Bismarck. Do all homes have special assessments? Many do, not all. Think of it like this. The newer the home, the more likely it is that it's going to have special assessments, and they're going to be much higher. So in some of these newer neighborhoods that are brand new, I've heard of cases where people have $30,000, $40,000 of specials that need to be paid off over time. So an older home, while they might not have any specials because maybe it's been paid off, it's also an older home. So anyway, this is the worst part about living in Bismarck, and it is something that I hear a lot of complaints about. So when you're searching for a home in Bismarck, a very important thing that just is not evident right away, for instance, if you're using things like Zillow or Realtor.com, this is a very difficult thing to find. That's why it is really necessary to have a real estate agent who knows what they're doing, who can tell you what this is. So I won't get into all that. That'll probably be a separate video. In fact, what do you think? Tell me in the comments below. Do you think that that would be a great video topic for our next topic? Maybe things that a real estate agent are looking for on behalf of their buyer or something. I don't know. You decide, put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. So anyway, special assessments, that's the #1 worst thing about living in Bismarck. #2, water. Water in Bismarck is a real thing. It causes all kinds of issues. So one of the items that a real estate agent is supposed to be looking for on behalf of their buyer as well, maybe that is going to be a video topic. I don't know. But another thing that I look for with my buyers is I look for what's called the property condition statement. And there's a specific section on the property condition statement that should be looking for if there's ever been any water seepage into the home. And this is a very common thing in Bismarck, that some houses end up getting water seepage. It's bad news because it's a fully induced panic if you've ever had that into your house. You go down into your basement and you have water on your floor, especially if you have a finished basement, ruins drywall, ruins flooring. It's just bad news. You don't want it. That's another bad thing about owning a home in Bismarck. Now, how do we combat that? The #1 way that you combat water getting into your home is by proper landscaping and proper drainage. So there are downspouts on a home, always making sure that those are down and far away from your home. If they're cut really short and they end up terminating right next to the foundation, that's no bueno. That is not good. You need to get that water away from your house as far as possible. And also having a nice slope away from the home. So the landscaping sloping away from the home, that's called positive grade. That is the #1 way to keep water out of your home. So the #2 way to keep water out of your home is purchasing a home that has drain tile and what's called a sump hole. So if you have drain tile in your home, that is to collect underground water. That's not water that falls from the sky and lands next to your foundation, and because you don't have your downspouts down and out, or because you have too thick of landscaping, it sits right next to your foundation. That's not this kind of water. This kind of water is groundwater that comes up from underground. We do have in Bismarck what are called aquifers, and aquifers are kind of like underground rivers, and quite frankly, you don't know where they are. So there is something called drain tile that gets put around foundations, and then there's a sump hole. And what happens is that underground water comes up, your drain tile around the home collects that water so it doesn't get into the house, and it dumps in that sump hole. From there should be a sump pump inside of that hole, and it pumps the water out and away from your house. So again, these are things in place to kind of combat the water in Bismarck, because that's a real thing, and it is the second worst part about owning a home in Bismarck. And lastly, it's kind of related to water actually, and that is settling and heaving. Settling and heaving will happen, and I want you to think about it this way. Settling is kind of water on the outside of the home. That's the way that I think about it anyway. So you might see settling marks on the outside walls, and that's probably from water on the outside. Heaving, however, that's where doors don't open on the inside of the home well, or you have weird cracks coming off the corner of door frames and things like that, or you have the ceiling that's getting kind of smashed up from a wall. That is heaving. So we have a type of soil in Bismarck. It's not absolutely everywhere, but it's definitely in places, and that's called fatty clay. I am not a soils expert by any means, but you don't have to be a soils expert to understand how something works, right? I mean, after all, I know that if I put my key in my truck's ignition and I turn it, my truck starts. I don't really understand the process for how all that works, but I don't have to know that if I do this, my truck starts, right? You don't have to be a soils expert either in order to understand that if water sits against your home and there's a certain type of soil, that soil, the fatty clay, is going to expand and it's gonna shoot up. It's gonna cause heaving in your home. So it's just another reason why you just need to keep all of the water away from your home as much as humanly possible. So anyway, those are the worst things about living in Bismarck. But if you can manage your water and you can find a house that's got low specials, hey, this is a great place. If you would like to see a video of a different topic, please put that in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you are moving here from another state, from another town, coming to Bismarck, and you'd like to know more about some of these things to look out for, I'm more than happy to walk you through it. So reach out. Again, my name is Corey McLindsey and I'm with Venture Real Estate. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, we'll see ya.